Hi, welcome to ShowMeTheCurry.com. I'm Hital.
I'm Anuja, and today we're going to show you how to make Molaga Podi, which is basically the dry chutney or the dry powder that you eat along with dosas and upma and idlis. And you just put you put the powder, you put a little bit of oil, mix the two, and just have it on the side. So that's what we're going to make.
And usually you can get them ready-made in a packet at the Indian grocery store, but who knows when those were made. This is such a simple recipe and it's quick, and you can make small batches at a time and have fresh chutney powder whenever you need it.
Exactly.
So it's a really, really easy recipe. Let's get started.
And I think the most important thing is that you can make it to taste.
Absolutely.
The way you want it.
Exactly. So we have a heavy bottom pan right here. It's important to use a heavy bottom pan because we're going to be dry roasting a lot of these things, and you don't want a quick cook. They have to be slowly on a slow flame roasted to where they don't burn and you're constantly stirring them.
So we're going to be using some daals over here now. A very important thing to make sure your daals are clean. Just sift through them, make sure there's no stones in them, because sometimes there are. That's how it is. It's the nature of the beast.
Right. So ours are clean, hopefully.
They are clean.
They're clean. Okay, thank you. So we have a 1/4 cup of Urad Daal. We have a 1/4 cup of Chana Daal. And we have 2 teaspoons of Mung Daal. Now I'm going to take this back to the stove, and again, like I said, low flame, constantly stirring, and we're going to dry roast this until we get a little bit of color on these dals. Okay, our dals have been cooking for about 8 or 9 minutes, and if you can see, the Urad Daal has turned like a light pinkish color, and the rest of the dals also look roasted. So we're going to turn off the stove and take this out into another plate.
And we're going to keep it aside and let it cool down. The next thing we're going to roast now in the same skillet. Again, you want a heavy bottom one. You're going to add in 2 teaspoons of whole coriander seeds and dry red chili. Again, this is to taste. We're just going to remove the little stalks, the stems.
And it'll depend also on the variety of chilies that you have. Ours are medium spicy, but we've had some that were super spicy, so you couldn't use 10 of them in that instance, So just kind of keep an eye on what you have and use it accordingly.
And if they're large, you can just break them further down. That way it'll just cook a little faster. And we're going to add 2 sprigs of fresh curry leaves. And they've been washed and wiped. There you go. And back to the stove.
Once again, back to the stove.
Again, on a very low flame, and stir constantly. Make sure nothing burns. And the curry leaves actually need to dehydrate.
So this has been cooking for about 3 to 4 minutes, and if you take a leaf and it crumbles like that, crispy, it's ready to go. Take it off.
Again, we're going to do the same thing. We're going to transfer it into the same bowl and allow it to cool. And again, in the same pan, we're going to add 2 tablespoons of dry coconut, shredded coconut, and a 1/4 teaspoon of Hing or Asafoetida.
This is going back on the stove, but this time it's going to be like fast because that dry coconut is already dry. There's no moisture in there, so it's just going to be just a quick toss here and there, and we're going to be taking it back. And just a few seconds later, you'll notice the coconut browning a bit, and we immediately turn off the stove and remove it.
And again, quickly into the same pan. Now we're going to wait for it to cool down completely before we go on to the next step.
So our mixture is completely cooled down to the touch, and we have a small spice grinder here that is, it lets us grind anything dry to like a fine powder or however texture we want it. I'm going to put this in there.
And to this we're going to add a few other things. We're going to add 2 teaspoons of Kashmiri Mirch or Deghi Mirch. And this one is really for color because the dry red chilies, they didn't have a whole lot of red color, but if yours have got great color, you may not need this or may need a little less or more of it. And a 1/2 teaspoon of salt, but again, depending on your taste, you may need to up it a little bit more if needed. You can always try it out later. And 1/8 teaspoon of citric acid.
Now that provides a little bit of tartness to this recipe. I know originally, if you're back in India, you can use dried tamarind if you have it, but here, unfortunately, we only get the wet tamarind. So this is going to add the same kind of tartness to the recipe.
And we're going to grind it to the coarseness that we want.
Now this chutney powder comes in a variety of different textures, so depending on how you like it, I know some people like it a little bit on the crunchy side where you can actually see the little small grains.
Yeah.
Some people like it absolutely smooth, so up to you how much you grind it.
Look at that, it looks fantastic. We've actually chosen to make a fine powder because again, kids, always blame the kids. Right?
Yeah, we do so much for the kids. Hopefully it'll be appreciated someday.
But this is pretty much ready. So all you have to really do is, put it in a dry jar, and you don't need to refrigerate it. You can keep it in your cabinets and use it whenever needed. So all you have to do is just take a little bit of, take a spoonful whenever you're having idlis or dosa, and put it in your plate. Or you can make a big batch, put some oil, or better still ghee.
Yes.
Mix it and just dip and have it. Excellent.
It takes your idlis to a completely different level. It's yummy. I know some people call it gunpowder.
Yes.
And there's a reason for that, because it's just like boom.
It's
an explosion of flavor.
Yes.
Yep.
It does. So actually a very simple recipe.
Yeah.
So very easy to do it at home. So you really don't have to go and buy it out next time.
So enjoy this dry chutney powder with your idlis next time you make them. And join us again for another episode of ShowMeTheCurry.com.
Adding a pinch of spice to your life. I'm still trying to teach her how to say Molaga Podi. Come on, say it.
Molaga Podi.
Very good.
I tried.